Good evening to everybody, and welcome to the new UIP campus. Welcome first and foremost to all of our students that are with us here tonight. Secondly, thank you to our academic and administrative staff members who are here and for all the hard work you do. And many, many thanks to the Laureate Panama Advisory Board members that are joining us tonight. And finally, thank you to all of our friends of UIP that are with us on this special occasion. As you can see, we're in the process of finishing the second and final phase of construction on our new campus. So please forgive us that we're not at 100% just yet, but should be in the next couple of months. But we are very proud that we are going to be able to offer the most complete higher education facility in Panama. And in the next few months, when this construction is complete, this entire campus will include, among other things, the only fully simulated university hospital in Panama with 4 complete simulation labs with observation rooms, 4 doctor's office simulation rooms, 2 multidisciplinary labs, and 2 labs dedicated to structure and function. It will have the only fully operating dental clinic with 65 at full capacity dental chairs that will be able to give service to the community as we currently do at our smaller dental clinic in Carrasquilla. We're going to have various labs for IT systems and basic sciences, architecture and design workshops, and for our Glion Hospitality Management School, we're going to have the Glion Hotel Room, the Drinks Workshop Lab, simulated restaurant, cold kitchen, hot kitchen, plus over 100 classrooms, all equipped with central AC, computers, and projectors. This campus, for all of us at UIP, represents another reason why Laureate International Universities is here for good. When we say we're here for good, we mean it as a double entendre in English, meaning that we're here for good with longevity, and we're also here for good for our mission. When we speak of longevity, we mean that these universities will be here long after we're gone. So we're really just merely stewards of our universities, much the same way that each one of us is a steward in our community and are stewards of our countries and of this planet. Here for good always means that we are here to do good. We are here to change lives, to give people great opportunities to live better and more fulfilling lives. And like they like to say at the Clinton Foundation, we are helping people live their best life story. At UIP, I am so proud of the Here for Good work that our students, academics, and administrators are doing in the neighborhood of Cuna Nega, right here in Panama City. For those of you that don't know, Cuna Nega is a neighborhood that's built right next to the city dump, and it's a very underprivileged neighborhood that faults a lot of basic services. Together with a dear friend of the university, Mayor Jose Blandon, we've signed a partnership and have started to make real significant efforts with our students leading the way in that community. 2 of the things that I wanted to mention are, 1, the health center in Cuna Nega. We're working to upgrade that center from a sub-center to a full center, meaning that it will be open 7 days a week. And our students and professors are helping attend students at that center. Also, our engineering students just presented the other day a really exciting project to help the water flow in the bathrooms at the public school in Cuna Nega. Students making those decisions are making a difference in the lives of people in Cuna Nega, and they're changing the world. They are here for good. And who doesn't want to change the world? Who doesn't want to leave it better than they found it? Well, today we are honored to have a presenter who has done just that. Our Laureate International University's honorary chancellor, President Bill Clinton, dedicated the first part of his life to making the U.S. not just a better country, but a better neighbor and a better global citizen. And in the last 15 years since leaving public office, President Clinton has dedicated the second part of his life through the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative to bringing together leaders from public and private sector getting them to sit down and make big commitments to change the world, and then by turning those ideas into action. My favorite guiding principle of the Clinton Foundation is, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. In summary, our Chancellor embodies the Laureate concept of here for good. Please listen carefully and reflect during this unique, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you all have. Ladies and gentlemen, we at the Universidad Interamericana de Panamá and Laureate International Universities are honored to welcome to our new campus the 42nd President of the United States and our honorary Chancellor, President Bill Clinton.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Matt. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to come to this beautiful campus. I thank Mayor Blandon for being here, Justice Abel Zamorano, members of the UIP Executive Committee, Dr. Mashnet, and members of the Advisory Board, and thank you, Matt, for inviting me. Over the last 6 years, I have had the honor of making 24 appearances before Laureate University groups. And this one is especially meaningful to me for several reasons. First, I wanted to see the new campus, and now I would like to move here and teach. It's so beautiful. Second, as most of you probably know, Panama is now hosting the 7th Summit of the Americas. A little more than 20 years after it began in December of 1994 in Miami. When I became president, I wanted very much to build on the spirit of democracy that had taken hold in our hemisphere, to help to improve governance in the economy. And I felt that we were going into a new era in human affairs where we were highly interdependent, but in the world, things were more unstable. And I believe that if the Americas grew closer, we would all do better if times in the future were good. And if troubles developed in other parts of the world, we would be just fine because we helped each other. In addition to the Summit of the Americas, I worked hard to forgive the accumulated debts of Bolivia and Peru and Ecuador and the Dominican Republic. When the peso crisis happened in Mexico, the United States stepped in to help, and many people thought it would cost me re-election because more than 80% of the American people thought I was wrong. But Mexico paid the debt back early and proved that being a good neighbor is good economics. Then there were many other things that happened, including Plan Colombia, which led to the recovery of much of Colombia's landmass by its own people, and directly to the peace process that is now underway in Cuba, which I hope and pray will succeed. After I left office, I became an NGO, part of civil society. I organized the foundation, and we work in Mexico, Central America, South America, and all over the Caribbean, helping farmers, helping entrepreneurs, helping to build a clean energy future. In the Andes of Peru, we help women who have never earned an income before to become entrepreneurs and sell products in remote Andean villages where people could never buy them before. These women were very poor, and this is the first time they have ever had an income. I am proud of the fact that we've been doing this now, we're on our third year. There has not been one instance, not one, where any money has been lost or any products have disappeared. They're the most responsible people I have ever worked with in my life. And it proves that everybody deserves a chance. And that brings me to the subject of the Summit of the Americas, which I want to talk to you about here. Your president and vice president have convened all these leaders to talk about equitable prosperity, shared prosperity. Why? Because one of the three biggest problems facing our interdependent world is growing inequality. In the wealthiest countries of the world, inequality has increased in the distribution of income in every single one before the government intervenes. Some governments have done more than others to reduce the inequality. This is a terrible constraint on growth for everyone. One of the reasons that every Panamanian citizen should be happy for every one of you to be students in this university is that the more able you are to contribute to the economy, the more able you are to contribute to the society, the more able you are to earn a good income, the better it is for everyone else. And so I think it's altogether fitting that today I went first to give a keynote address to the civil society portion of the summit, which is meeting for the first 2 days before the leaders arrive. And then I came here because I believe that empowering more people to succeed in the economy and building up the civil society sector to advocate for honest government, responsive government, to help people solve problems in a non-political way at the grassroots where they live. These two things are necessary if we are going to share prosperity and responsibility into the future. One of the things I like very much about the Laureate network of higher education is that you have been interconnected by the internet. Some of you have perhaps gone to the Clinton Global Initiative that we have for university students, or to our regular meeting in New York at the opening of the UN, but all of you can participate because we stream it to every one of the campuses in the Laureate network. It's actually possible now because of technology for you to know what your counterparts in Malaysia think and how they're dealing with their challenges. What is the difference not only among Latin American countries, but among Latin American countries and Spain, which had a terrible economic collapse and is now still suffering with youth unemployment of about 50%. Or what about the other countries in the network in Turkey, which is at the center of so much of the turmoil gripping the Middle East today? This is what I want to say about that. I hope the most important lesson you take away from your experience here, beyond learning what you came to learn and putting it to good use when you leave, is that you live in the most interdependent time in human history. That is, because of information technology, the social media, and international economic exchange, because borders look more like nets than walls, you are more closely connected to people across national borders than any generation of people before you. You know what the good news is about that. A young person now can get on the internet at the age of 8 years old and find out something I had to go to university to learn. The bad news is that one of the things you can learn on the internet is how to build a roadside bomb and kill a lot of innocent civilians. What do I mean by that? Interdependence can be good or bad or both. And your generation's great job will be to define the interdependence of Panamanians with each other, with people throughout Central America, throughout the Americas, and throughout the rest of the world, in positive instead of negative terms. The great test we have is to build up the positive forces of interdependence, represented by you, the students here, the faculty, the advisors, the supporters. We want to build up those positive forces and reduce the negative ones. That's why if, for example, tiny Lebanon, far away in the Middle East, if they survive the civil war in Syria, the infusion of hundreds of thousands of refugees, all the conflicts there, if they survive as a multi-religious, multi-ethnic democracy, you should cheer, because it means a victory for the forces of positive interdependence. The biggest threat to the realization of your vision is, first, excessive inequality, what they're talking about now at the Summit of the Americas. I urge you to follow it. See what ideas come out. See if you agree or disagree with what the leaders are doing or not doing to address this problem. But if you live in a free market economy, there must be consumers. Before you can consume, you have to earn. You have to be able to have an honorable job and make an honorable living, contribute a fair share of taxes to the government so it can provide the basics of life that we cannot provide on our own. That's the first problem. Second problem is the instability caused by people who are literally trying to break down the nation state through terror, narco-trafficking, other forms of organized crime, or who are failing the nation state through incapacity and corruption. I think your president, by the way, has done a pretty good job of trying to bring all that out in the open and talk about it. You shouldn't be embarrassed about it because it's a global problem. But to give you an idea of how important it is to your future, a few days ago, I had the honor of representing the United States in the tiny nation of Singapore. They have a few more people than you do, I think, but not many, about 6.5 million. I went there to represent our country at the funeral of my friend Lee Kuan Yew, who died at 91. He was the founder of modern Singapore in 1961. When Lee Kuan Yew became Prime Minister of Singapore, a job he held for 31 years, the per capita income of the country was less than $1,000 a year. When his official memorial service was held, the per capita income of the country 50 years later was more than $55,000 a year. One of the most dramatic stories of economic growth and prosperity and lifting people up in all of history. Now, if you had asked him, how did this happen? He would have said, it happened largely for two reasons. First of all, we were an ethnically and religiously divided country. Majority Chinese, minority Malays, smaller minority Indian, a fair number of people from the Philippines. We had once been an English colony, so we decided we would do business in English, and every one of our citizens would be taught in school his or her native language. We would honor our cultures, we would honor our differences, but we would never govern by them. We would govern and live and work together, respecting our differences, but saying our common humanity mattered more. The second thing he would say is, when we started, like almost every Asian country, we were ripe with corruption, everything from the smallest inspections to the biggest ministries, and we got rid of it. And if you talk to anybody today, they would tell you that they went from $1,000 to $55,000 in income by providing honest, straightforward, efficient government, effective education, and an environment in which people respected their differences because their common humanity mattered more. The last thing I would say is that your generation will be tested severely by climate change and the shortage of other resources occasioned by the dramatic rise in the world's population. How you respond to that will determine the level of prosperity you can enjoy. The good news is, and this is something my foundation's been honored to work all over the Americas in, is that Central America, Mexico, the United States, and all of South America, and first, all of the Caribbean, could generate all their electricity without using any fuels that contribute to climate change. Mexico, Venezuela, and Trinidad produce oil and gas. There will be plenty of usage for both without using them to generate electricity. It will drive down the cost of electricity and drive up the number of jobs and businesses in your country. A good friend of mine who was supposed to travel with me to Panama and couldn't is in the process of building the largest wind farm in Central America in Panama. It will lower your electric bills and increase your contribution to a clean energy future. So if I were you and were in your position starting out my life, I would say, first, I want to learn what I can and do my job well. I want to be able to live my life and have a family, and if I have children, I want to be able to raise them well. But to do it, even if I'm never in government, I have to advance the public good as a private citizen. So if I ever get a chance to reduce income inequality and have shared prosperity, I will support that. If I ever get a chance to reduce the threat of climate change and increase the ability of my country or others to grow food, to maintain trees, to balance the resources of nature with the demands we put on them, I will support that. And if ever I get a chance to support the integrity of my nation against corruption, against narco-traffickers, against others that would take down the orderly society which makes progress possible, I will support that. You have an education which is a precious gift. With every gift comes some responsibility. In this new century, that responsibility will include not only doing your job well, but being a good citizen, trying to do public good in private life. That's essentially what the whole civil society movement's about. That's what all of us who are in NGOs do. Elections are important. People who get in political jobs are important. But in the end, it is the culture and character of a people that determine the future and the choices. So that's what I hope you get out of your education here. And the fact that Laureate is linked to people throughout the world. There are countless millions of people like you on every continent and every country who are longing to live a life that is decent and honorable and meaningful. You have something many of them don't, an education which gives you choices. I urge you to choose well and realize this: In an interdependent world, you are condemned to share the future. Whether you share it with others on positive terms or negative terms is up to you. I would do my best, if I were you, to create networks of positive cooperation, because no one can do this alone. Everywhere in the world, people are working together in a cooperative way. Good things are happening. Everywhere in the world, people say my differences are all that matter. My religious, my racial, my ethnic, my national differences. And our differences are far more important than our common humanity. Everywhere that happens, bad things are happening. The choice is simple to say, sometimes difficult to do. You have the advantage of a global education because you're part of this network. I urge you to make the most of it. I urge you to enjoy it. And when you leave, I urge you to do something really good with it to build a future of positive interdependence. Thank you very much.
Hello. I wanted to let our rector, Dr. Stanley Mouchette, unveil just a plaque we have in honor of your visit with us here today.
Mr. President, as the rector, and on behalf of our students, faculty, and staff, we want to thank you for your visit. And we present to you this plaque in commemoration of it. Thank you very much. En español dice, la Universidad Interamericana de Panamá celebra la visita del 42º Presidente de los Estados Unidos y Canciller Honorario de Laureate International Universities, William J. Clinton, al nuevo Campus UIP, 8 de abril de 2015. He will say it in English.
Beautiful. So glad to have you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias a todos por su participación esta noche y que todos tengan una excelente noche. Muchas gracias.